AITAH, for refusing to have a child with my wife if they don't have my last name. So my wife and I are finally financially at a point where we want to be trying for a baby. When we married 7 years ago, she really wanted to keep her last name, as she is an only child of 2 only children. She will essentially be the last of her name in the nearish future. I am also an only child, so I understood, as I also want to keep my family's last name going as well. Neither of us wanted to hyphenate, as both of our last names are long and do not go well together. When we got married, we agreed that even though she was keeping her last name, that our firstborn would have my last name, and secondborn would have hers regardless of gender. I thought that was a fair compromise at the time, and so did she. Well, now she has been saying she wants the firstborn to have her last name, and I can have the secondborn. I wouldn't care all that much if it wasn't for the fact we are now in our late 30s, and the odds of her being able to have multiple children is much lower than if we had started trying for kids almost a decade ago when we first married. I've told her she knows what she's doing, and this isn't what we agreed on before we got married. She said that she knows, but since she's the one who would have to carry the child, she should get first dibs. I told her I was not okay with this, and why don't we decide to just hyphenate our child's last name then? She said she didn't want to, as that'd be ugly, and if we do have a child, it's going to be her last name. While I told her that I'm not quite sure that's how the law works where we live, if she isn't willing to make that compromise, then I'm not comfortable having a child with her. She got really upset by this and said I was being selfish, and that if we don't have a kid, my name wouldn't live on anyways. I told her the same would apply to her, and if she isn't willing to compromise and hyphenate, it looks like both our names will die out. We've been really upset with each other the last few days, and this has me questioning our marriage, as it seems to me she is being selfish and self-centered about a pretty major thing. Edit just showed my wife this, and we agreed that whichever last name gets more votes we will go with. I won't say whose is who. The 2 last names are Jarzbowski and Wiley. First comment, Esh, I feel like the whole concept of needing your child to have your last name is pure ego. Are staking your claim? Planting your flag on your child because you want your name to be carried on to your child. Is your name and your bloodline so vital to the human race? Guess what? Even if your child doesn't have your last name, they are still of your blood. Pick the name that will be easiest on your child. Picking a longer name that may be hard to spell or difficult to pronounce means you and your ego are willing to put your child through unnecessary trials. To me, that feels like you are already missing the mark as a parent. I agree with you, inner ego, but back up on the difficult to pronounce business, as that can get racist real quick. There are a bunch of people out here from Hawaii, China, Africa, Mexico, UAE, etc. who have to deal with, I'll just call you Sally Smith because it's easier, from white folks, and that's bullshit. My last name is an anglicized version of an Eastern European spelling, and no one gets it right. Folks would 100% pronounce and spell it correctly if we kept the original spelling, because it's pronounced the way it's spelled. Second comment, I kept my last name and my hubs kept his. He gave me a little crap about it, and I told him if he were to do all the paperwork, I'd hyphen it. Yeah, we've been together 30 years and still no hyphenation. The kids are first name, my last name, his last name. They all have a different first name. My last name is their middle name, and his last name. It's a good compromise. In this case, I agree with everyone. Wiley is a good middle name, or hyphenated with Wiley first. It flows better. I so thank AITAH for saying both last names are long and don't flow well together. Wiley is not long, and Wiley Jarzbowski flows nicely. You were just trying to get others on your side. Third comment, your wife is aware that anyone can legally change their name as an adult, right? I understand that the 2 of you want to carry on your names, but realistically they mean nothing. I'm sure out in the world there are other people with the last name Wiley and Jarzbowski. It's not like either name is a tie to some dynasty. Unless it is, then I apologize. Your bloodlines are living on, so what names you use aren't that important. Maybe name the kid, first name Wiley, last name Jarzbowski. This still won't solve your problem though, really. Flip a coin. Maybe you'll get lucky and have twins. Hope you figure it out. For the record, I like Wiley better if you are actually counting votes. Fourth comment, AITAH. She has to do all the work of having a child, and I can tell you from experience things can and do go wrong. Even if it's textbook perfect, it's hard as hell, and she'll never be the same physically or mentally. After everything she has to go through, you want to have a pissy little fit, because what about ma name? Idgaf, which name is hers. The kid should get it if that's what she wants. The whole husband's name is bullshit anyway, left over from marking your wife and kids with it as basically your property without rights. You're such an it's almost breathtaking, NTA. While I think a last name is the least important thing to consider when it comes to having a baby, it's obviously so important to both of you that you came to an agreement prior to getting married. I don't think it's fair that you came to an agreement and your wife is taking it upon herself to completely change it up in her favor and isn't even open to discussing a compromise. Have you considered going to counseling? An impartial third party might help you come to an agreement. Also, consider the possibility that you may only have one girl and she will get married and choose not to keep her last name, and this heartache will be for nothing. Fifth comment. I'm currently preparing my wedding. In my country, you have to choose whose surname will your kids take before the wedding and sign the paper. And it's only one surname. Also, I will take my fiancé's surname, but I also decided to keep mine as well. Only I will have two surnames, not my kids, and the lady in the office already warned me that women often come back to have only one surname because they don't have the same surname as their kids basically, and it can be problematic for the databases at schools, doctors, etc., which means they have problems to link you as a parent. So even from that point of view, it's incredibly stupid to give your kids different surnames. But alas, I like Jarzabowski. It seems Polish Poland is our neighboring country. If you have second kid, please don't distinguish them from their sibling.